But like this lady I like watching named Beyond Taylor, she she's doing this program or this offer called Delete the Wobble, and it's basically not wobbling and just flip flopping between it's being finished and still trying to force how it happens and just resting in the fact that it's already complete. So as she's been doing that offer, making videos on that, I've been going through the AI talking about it, talking to the AI about the deleting the wobble and the ways the wobble can show up. And the thing with the wobble is as soon as you see it, that's it. Like as soon as
Mm,
you're aware of it. Like so it's really just a constant reminder that whatever it is, it's already done.
I
Like
love
and it
that.
is.
Like, I've been trying to like, is it okay for things to be easy? You know, like
Yes.
I've been struggling or like in my mind, I consider myself like I can go 16 rounds. Like it's like not like I'm a fighter, but like I'm resilient. I know that about myself. You know what I mean? And so my mental chatter is like, if I got to get through it, I'll get through it. And I'm like, what if it's easy? What if I don't have to effort? And like it's that like you said, once you look at it, that's all you gotta do is like notice. But it is a muscle. To be like, oh wait, rest and ease and it's already done and I don't have to worry. That's another thing. I suffer from anxiety and I used to have like super bad panic attacks, like don't want to go out kind of thing. And I've worked really hard to like not be afraid of. And part of that's the same thing, like, oh yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I know it's gonna work out. So boop, delete the wobble. I don't need
Yep,
to know.
literally. Yeah, she always say that like and she be flashing like she be like I keep telling y'all, stop worrying about the how. It's not your goddamn business. Like, stop worrying about the how. And like, I'd be grateful she said it like that because that's the truth. Like, and like, I see it in my life with so many different things with like with nuances involved. Our minds can't calculate that, and it's not our jobs to calculate the middle part of how we're going to get to wherever it is we're trying to get or how it's going to come in because it could come in an infinite amount of ways. Um, have you heard of this? It's by Deepak Chopra, the Seven Spiritual Laws to Success or of
Yeah, but
Success.
I don't think I ever read the book. It was a book and it was like a big deal, but I don't think I ever read it.
I started because I got that book a few months ago, and I started posting TikToks about it recently, like advertising it like in TikTok shop, and the last video I made about it, I think what law I was reading over because I had posted the first video I posted about it got like 40,000 views, and the second one got like 80,000 views. So let me just keep posting it, cause all I'm doing is reading parts cause I highlighted every chapter in the book, like when I first read it, cause I finished it the same day I got it. I was just highlighting it, cause it's a short read. So what I do is I just read parts that I highlighted, and then I just articulate it back in my own words in the most simplistic way that I understand it. And I think the law was doing last time. The last video I made was the law of detachment, and I said something about the reason why like your manifestations aren't coming in is because you're trying to control life, you're trying to force it instead of allowing. And then I wind up in a video, I wind up coining my own term, the law of allowance, because that's literally what I do with my life. I just allow because I understand. I say Heavenly Father, but life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is always bringing forth harmony every millisecond of a moment. But what happens is we tend to get in our own way, we give our attention to the thoughts and all these different things instead of allowing it to come into fruition. So the law of allowance, that's what I'm gonna start saying.
I love that. I love that because it's reminding me of like in the midst of my divorce when I was choosing not to like escape the feelings and I wasn't gonna like go out or like self-medicate. And I was just like, okay, let me sit with everything that's here. And I know it's like this young abandonment stuff. I would like sit there and till I allowed like, what is it I'm so scared of? Why am I so scared of like what's in here, really? You know, I've been running from it for so long, like ever since I was a kid or whatever. What is it really? And like when you just allow whatever it is to be, like even the abandonment, even the like the grief and the like whatever, it goes by much quicker. It's almost like a wave in an ocean. It's just like, whoa. And then it's sort of like it's for me, I call it like detox. It's like, "Oh, this was in my
Yes,
body ever since I was a kid, and it just wants to get out." So, like,
yes,
"Oh, I got it out." And then it's like now there's this huge vacancy of freedom because I just, like, allowed it. But it was reminding me when I started doing more meditation, because meditation really does help me, especially, like, first thing in the morning. I'm a vivid dreamer, so sometimes I wake up, like, already full, you know what I mean, and, like, needing to integrate, and I would, like, wait until I was out of my own way. It wasn't any particular meditation, I tried different things, but I would, like, sit on that cushion until I wasn't in my head. I wasn't thinking about what was coming next. I wasn't thinking about what just happened. I wasn't thinking, like I was just completely out of my own way. And I was like, I want to envision my spine like a straw. Like whenever that straw is open, now I can go. Whatever God's got for me today, I know I'm going to be in the flow. You want
The
to do our
meditation?
intro?
Yeah, let's do it right quick. Let's do it right quick. And then I want to build off what you said.
I can't hear you.
Is it lagging? Can you hear me still? No?
Did I push the button again?
Hello?
It's these headphones. They're too fancy for me. They must do some sort of auto thing. I got it now. I'm on it. Go ahead. Intro us
Are
in.
you, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 3, right? Episode 3. Um, we were just yapping, but it's your co-host Bougie here with
Sylvie,
we come together and discuss deep shit.
welcome to the Deep Shit Podcast. Awesome.
Oh no,
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say I wanted to build off of what you were saying with the meditation because I have a lot that I could say with that. The meditation practice I resonate with the most is I guess it's called doing nothing. Basically, you just allow. I think it's called Vipassana meditation, but you just allow everything just to come up and you do your best to. And that's the thing is doing nothing, but you don't grab onto anything, and that's kind of it can feel like that's something to do at the same time. But what I've noticed is like what you were saying with like the energy getting out the body and all of that. What I was talking to Taylor about while she was on live yesterday was well she was talking about it too. Feeling the sensations without a story. Just letting the sensation be the sensation, like separate the two. Because what tends to happen is we correlate the emotion to I guess a specific event or just something and that prolongs it. So when you just let the sensation be the sensation, no judgment, even though it be feeling uncomfortable, what I noticed is clarity tends to emerge on its own, and I started saying like, oh, that spirit, which is really me, but the interference is gone, so I'm able to hear it. I'm able to receive what it's saying, and physically in my body, I feel energy in my thighs like releasing, like my thighs will like move. And I'm like, okay, that's all that survival energy. That's how I say survival. It might just be energy, but it's stored energy that's been trying to get out. I'm pretty sure. And knowing that energy is just energy in motion, that helps a lot with like what I was saying with the story, like not putting a story to it, because it's just energy. It's neutral. It's not really. It's not trying to hurt you. And then once it passes, you usually, if everything feels good in the body, like you physically feel it, like this guy I watched named Joseph Rodriguez, he always talked about our true nature is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. And I got a chance to see that. I used to try to force myself to feel that, but I got a chance to see while in a meditation doing nothing, what naturally emerges is those feelings. So it gave me a chance to see like, oh, this really is my day state. Like I'm not doing nothing to force it. Like they have times where I don't want to open my eyes in a meditation because I'm just resting in the presence of those feelings. Like I'm like, oh, and like this is always there. It's always here. But like I said, the mind tends to block it and interfere it. So that's why you have to allow it to just pass through. Don't grab it.
Yeah, the mind is a powerful weapon, and a powerful tool. It's like full of electricity, and that electricity can be like a hat. You know what I mean? It can be its own interference unless it gets on the same frequency. For me, I'm kind of nerdy, so like I've have a lot of mind and not as much body. And so like you mentioned with the thighs, that by the way is accurate. That's how like you have this stuff called fascia. Have you ever heard of it? Like when you cook chicken breast, how there's that white
Mm,
like really thin. It's not the skin, but it's like under the skin, but
yeah.
above the muscle. So we have the same thing. It's called fascia, and you kind of see it in like the skeleton drawings or whatever as that like thin white stuff. And that's where our emotions get stored. And one of my favorite teachers, Dewey Freeman, who is like my Dumbledore, I learned so much about just therapy, like really high quality therapy is like the body remembers. So that thing you didn't get to process, that energy that, usually trauma is a lot of energy, a lot of input. Something happened and you got like all your senses got flooded, you got all this information. But if you can't express it, if that energy doesn't stay in motion, it gets stuck. And where it gets stuck is in the body, and specifically in the hips and the thighs, which are our largest muscles. It makes sense, right? Like to put it in that area. But when any animal, especially mammals, like if a deer was getting chased and then it got away and it was safe, the first thing it does is shake. Same with horses. Most mammals, but especially prey mammals, like will naturally release whatever energy just got put in. They'll go off once they're safe and they'll shake it out. And I think there's certain cultures that do that naturally, that like dance, and dance really hard or wiggle and move and like have a daily, or like the qigong, like a daily way of like getting rid of whatever. But when we've stored it and we're now relaxed, the body will shake, and that's a good thing. Like breathe,
Yeah,
drink water. Like it's a beautiful, it's detox, right? Because then all of a sudden that fascia can get rehydrated and there's like space for movement and it keeps you young. That's why I think a lot of times we can talk about systemic oppression another time because that's going to take me on a different rabbit hole. But when you look at like what that is and like how to be able to put your finger on like, hey, I know you're doing something that's super sexist and racist and patriarchal and like, but I can't like point and be like, there, it's there, you did that thing. But part of it is the inability to rest. Like you will always be busy. You won't have time for your own thoughts, your own replenishment, and the ability to release. If you
right.
release, oh my gosh, you're this kind of person, or that how dare you be this, whatever, that you're releasing and expressing emotions, and you don't get to replenish, right? There isn't a steady well that's welcoming. And so to me, like that fascia connection of being like, oh, wow, stress kills people, but it kills people over time because that fascia just, gets full, right? And so being able to release and chicken soup and dancing, hugs and screaming, like it's not stuff you need medical insurance for. It's old wisdom, but some people remember and some people don't.
I remember when I was first waking up, my uncle was trying to explain to me how spells work. And I kind of forgot, but he was showing me the prefix to, I think, the word ease. And like I said, I kind of forgot. I don't know if the prefix was the word dis, but he was showing me that the opposite of ease was dis-ease. And then when you put them together, it's disease. And he was indirectly showing me, because he lets me think on my own. But I came to understanding like, oh, these diseases spring from like the energy, and then they manifest into the disease. That's how I learned that. And it comes from like a lot of what you just said, the stress and the stored energy, the tension, all of that, and then poof, it manifests physically as some illness or something.
Especially the chronic ones, which happens a lot in the Black and brown community, where they're like, oh, my bones are aching, but like the doctors can't figure out what it is. Is it hormones? Is it heart health? Is it, these like nebulous diseases have to do with like this high functioning cortisol adrenal response, which is a huge difference in class in this country anyways, of who gets the rest and who doesn't, of who gets all the cortisol and adrenal response and who doesn't. And I don't, believe that that's unintentional, but I do think all you have to do to remedy it is to keep the energy in motion. Like when you look at the example of the disciples, they could have a lot of energy, like being attacked, demons coming at them, people chasing them everywhere, wanting to be healed. Like there's a lot of energy around them, but they just kept it moving. Like, okay, I'm going to use this energy and boom, I'm going to do this action over here. Like this energy is going to be used and keep it in motion. So then when they went back to camp or whatever, sure, they were tired, but they weren't like, couldn't do it again tomorrow, So even if someone's like yelling at me and, like in my face, and I didn't expect that to happen, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 whatever I need to do to get it out of me, because I don't need that energy to get stuck. And once you get unstuck and you detox, then as energy comes at you, you can just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna do, this energy came, I'm gonna use it for this way. This energy came, I'm gonna like aim it in that. direction. As long as you keep it in motion, it's just energy. Like you said, it's not positive or negative. It's an information packet, and you get to use that packet how you want. I thought it was interesting that you said spells because it's the same side of the coin, but the opposite of prayers. Like, it's really important to be mindful of what comes out off your tongue. The power of life and death comes off your tongue. And like when you're praying, that's really what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's like the positive effect and that algorithm we talked about, like that's how you enter energy into that system.
When you said the mind is a good weapon and a great tool, I had thought of in the Hermetica it says two gifts were bestowed upon humanity, mind and speech, and we it's kind of I'll put it like this. Like one thing I have to remind myself because the thoughts they're like on autopilot. That voice usually tends to be on autopilot, but what I remind myself is I'm the only one in this vessel. Like I'm the only spirit controlling this vessel. So when you consciously use your mind and consciously use your speech, you're I like to say you're using your God power. You're creating. So yeah.
Was at this like when I went to grad school in Boulder, Colorado. So I was in the wilderness therapy program. So I hung out with like a lot of adventure guys and gals and like inadvertently sort of like the tech startup folks. And so I got invited to this like entrepreneurial summit thing, that was like very, cool kids club. And all these people, were successful, right? Like that's how you got the invitation. You had to apply and, it was a special thing and you went on retreat and all the cool people were together and you networked and whatever. And I remember everybody sharing their story about like their individual business, their journey, how they, what path got them there. And I was like, this is all spiritual principle. Like, I don't know if they understand what they're saying, but every single one of them was like, I made a vision board. I saw it clearly. I put it up every day. I would, look at that and I would just imagine myself, like different stuff like that. And I was like, they're sort of quantifying a spiritual concept, but in like a business language.
That's what Joseph teaches. He says entrepreneurship was a spiritual catalyst for him, and the way he teaches it, though, you wouldn't even think he'll be talking about business because he teaches you that you're one with God, and once you know that, it wraps from there.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say like I guess no, I ain't gonna say I guess. With everything I'm doing, like with music, even stuff like this, I would consider it business because it's not traditional, especially with music. Like there's no guaranteed income, all that. Like so, for me, I've had to still tackle a lot of limiting beliefs, but I'm so grateful that I decided to go ahead and do it because it gave a chance for it to come up so I can see it and have the ability to now transmute it. I very much understand what he means when he says it's a spiritual catalyst because it's like through all of the perceived negatives, you can find yourself in that or it gives you the opportunity to find yourself, I should say. So like even the entrepreneurs, they probably really didn't even know it's spiritual, but like the vision boards, the seeing it in their mind's eye, the bringing it into reality, like yeah, it's all one in one, same thing.
Same thing, and I think that they continue to, like, really use those principles. Even the way that they describe networking is very similar to, like, how I would just describe friendship, you know what I mean? But they just put it
Yeah,
in terms, you know what I mean? But to your point, the entrepreneurship process is very much a pressing down, like, you're gonna be tested over and over again, like, how much are you in this for money and how much are you in this for the cause? Like, no entrepreneur doesn't fully 100% believe, no successful entrepreneur doesn't not believe in what they're producing. And to the point where they're gonna eat beans, they're gonna eat rice, they're gonna, you know what I mean, like have some lean times, have some pressed down times, but it then gets down to the essence of who you are and how you really feel about that. Like even with my nonprofit, we're on year 6, we established in 2020. I still have paid more money in than I've ever made out, right? But like the work itself is so invaluable that I'm stoked that we never went in the red. Like I don't care the amount that's in the bank account. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we survived for 6 years. We made it." Like that's huge as a business to be like, We're still here. We're not in the red. We didn't have to close our doors. We're still doing it. And I think that from understanding that, like, if your purpose is tied into
You need to
proprietary, like if your business is also purpose driven, it's purpose first and then profit after. Like you're always going to put purpose first or your business just simply will not succeed. It just won't. Like you'll be a flash in the pan. And when you look at people who have generational wealth, it's like, oh, my grandpa started a milk cart and like sold milk out of a horse-drawn cart, and then like everybody believed in this business, and now 5 generations later it's like this multinational whatever. It's like sticking to the core of the thing first.
you beat me to it. I was gonna say you're walking in your purpose. That's why it's still, you know, it's still gonna continue to grow. 6 years strong already, but you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So of course it's working out.
But it's tempting, like, right? I've been out of a job because, the whole time I've had my nonprofit, I obviously have to work, right? And run a business that I pay for. And I was a school teacher and then a therapist. So my work is very much taking care of other people. And I also have 4 kids, but I can't not do it. You know what I mean? Like, it'll keep me up at night. If I'm not doing it, it's like almost like an agitation, in a good way. And so to me, it's not about dollars. I can go to sleep every night being like, wow, I did that. Like, not me, but like I did the thing I was put on earth to do. It's very satisfying. It's very fulfilling, even if it's like, beans and rice again. It's a different kind of wealth. And I know a lot of really wealthy people, we were talking about this last time, that go to sleep and they're like, did I make a difference? Or like, what did I do? Because they're so far removed from impact sometimes, like up in the ivory tower. And as a school teacher and a therapist, it is just like, I know that I've put myself in a helping position in a service. Well, not me, but I've been placed in a place that's like, I feel very honored to do my job. I feel very satisfied, but also like I genuinely like want to do it, have to do it, need to do it, love to do it. Like it's very flow. I never get tired. I could even be sick and like still do it. You know what I mean? Like it's just like there's always energy to your point. There's always like a flow state there.
I feel exactly with music. You just took all the words out my mouth. That's exactly how I feel with music. The thing with that, like starting when I first started, it was just it still is for fun. Like you said, like if I don't do it, something gonna feel off. I had to realize I just simply enjoy speaking into the mic. And what wound up happening in the earlier stages was getting caught up in the numbers. But one thing I can say for certain, I think I said this yesterday to myself, like as a decree, I literally have evidence that from people, from strangers I have never met and in real life, like people crying to my music or people telling me it helped them through a certain time in their life or when I was on the phone with one of my friends, I showed her a song I made like I was in 11th grade. She started crying. I'm like, I was just talking into the mic. I was saying when like what I was feeling at that time. Granted, it was a very hard time for me. So I'm pretty sure that's what she felt. That's what people feel. The frequency of where you was at when you was recording, and that's why music connects us and all that. I think that's it. I forgot where I was going with it.
I love that too, though, because that's the highest wealth you could get for someone to be like, you changed me in some way. Like the
Yeah,
thing, like that music wouldn't have existed if it didn't come off your tongue, and that person wouldn't have been affected if it wasn't in their ear, right? So that's what we're talking about, like prayers, like your tongue then spoke something in someone's ear that then added energy and life to them. And I love music from a mental health standpoint because that's always going to be your friend. 4 in the morning when no one else is up and you're going through it, music will be your friend, angry, sad, whatever. Like that's how I feel about nature too. Like it doesn't care how you feel. There's always going to be a thing that like can hold you with that. And I think it's such a good resource, but also it's the thing that outlasts you. That music, once it comes out, it's out like a book. It's,
timeless.
it's
Yeah,
timeless. That frequency is continuing to exist. And that is amazing because in Gestalt therapy, which is the kind of therapy I do, like you are not without the other. Like your music isn't your music until your friend hears it. You know what I mean? Like it's this beautiful magnetic thing that's like you were this part of this creation, but then the ear and the heart that feels it is like what brings it into completion, and like what then sends the energy back to you to be then transformed to another song, to then transform another heart, to then, if you were just making music and that was it and you were like, that was a good song, it's not the same thing.
Especially looking back on old songs, I get a chance to see like one thing that was hard and still kind of not really hard for me to see. I think of it like a mirror. Like the mirror doesn't see itself; it's just reflecting. Or like a camera, the camera doesn't see itself, but it's recording a scene and the life. So like I'll put it like this: my awareness is the camera, but I'm also the actor too. And with music, like I remember talking to my my uncle, I'm like, dang, like you know how people look up to celebrities or something. I just would have never thought like someone would view me in that way, I guess. So seeing the feedback, it's kind of hard for me to my mind to process. And then, like I was saying, going back to my older music, it's like I'm getting a chance to hear it as a listener, or like in general, like listening to my songs. I try my best to just listen to it and not view it as I made this. Even though I know I made it, I consciously know I made it, but I'm like, let me just listen to it. And it's kind of like I got a chance to see like a lot of my songs, or if not every single song I've ever made, don't even be me talking. Like the me who I think I am, nah, don't be me.
That's how I feel about therapy sessions. I'll go in there like all in my mind, like, okay, last week we talked about da da da. We should, like a teacher, like, oh, I'm in a lesson plan, like we should try this or we should do this. And then I get in there and I'm like, I have no idea what I just said. I don't know what I did. But I do pray. I do pray every time because I really do want to be a vessel. And like I told, this last time, like I've been working on my arrogance big time. Like I don't got it. I know I don't got it. If it ain't God moving through me, it ain't good. Like I've tried on my own so many times. I know how that goes. So when I'm in service, like people come to therapy, they pay a lot of money. They're going through stuff. Like I want to be a useful tool. Like it's not a time to be arrogant. You know what I mean? And so,
Jesus himself said, I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, please.
And Jesus himself said, him of himself can do nothing. It's the Father within who does the work. So that makes sense.
And it's
Like,
relieving when it's somebody else's life. Like, I used to work with children, and I took that very seriously. I love being a teacher. To be honest, I'd still be a teacher, but I can't and have 4 kids. I'm so tired. I'm almost 50. I'm like all these middle schoolers running around after COVID and my kids. But like, you're in charge of someone's life. Teachers are influential. So I took that very seriously as like the other grown up that would be there. And again, it's like, I don't want it to be me. I don't want to have some ego negative effect, which I have messed up on students before, messed up on therapy before, like thinking I knew best. But when it's someone else's life in my hands and I have that responsibility, I don't want it to be me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want that responsibility. I'm like, God, you made them. Like, you know how their operating system works. You go ahead. But still, some of my clients will be like, "Remember when you said da 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 da?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I said I said that? That's cool. Yeah, 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 yeah." But I'm so grateful because I know it's the more I can be that vessel, the more God I just want to be the hands and feet. I don't want to be the operating system, you know?
that is a big stress reliever off you, very much.
Absolutely. I'm curious to hear your perspective on like um sort of the relationship between mental health and negative self-talk, if you have any opinions on that or like see any correlation.
It's so crazy how I'm seeing how my responses from the past would have changed. I mean, have changed from what I can say now because, well, I guess it don't matter. The ones who hear it, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I think the best thing to know as an absolute fact is that you're not that voice. You're the one that's aware of that voice. And it's not really lying to yourself. For a while I was looking at it as lying to yourself, but no, you can tell yourself whatever it is you want to tell yourself. And like when you really see the separation between you and that voice, I feel like automatically the God within takes care of all of that for you. I have like, the like I guess sometimes like self-imposed limitations, but like I feel like the millisecond you're aware of it, that's it. Because you really have to question who is saying that. Like who? Like yeah, who? Who is saying that?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm asking you. Like, who do you think that is?
conditioning. Like, it could be something from when you was 5 years old. You heard your mama tell you, so you don't even remember. Like, So really, I just say conditioning.
Do you wanna hear my controversial take?
Of course,
It's
that's what we here
it's
for.
a little controversial. I don't know, let's see, 10 years now I've been doing therapy and about. And I used to be so opposite to this idea, like protest opposite, like vehemently opposite, which of course now is like hilarious. I also think God has a huge sense of humor, aka my married name being Sylvie Silva. But anyways, I find that for myself, I'll be mad stubborn about something and it'll be like the right thing. And then I'll be like, oh, I was so stubborn about it. But I used to be really against the idea of like thinking that demons had influence and like that concept of like, oh, if you have a negative thought to self harm, it's a demon, or oh, if you have schizophrenia, or if you have whatever. And I'm not saying that all mental health is this, especially because I come from a family of doctors and scientists. So, like, it took me a real long time. I thought this was like a very challenging cop out concept. But now I notice that anxiety and depression, of course, are like huge ones that I work with. I personally work with like youth 13 to 25. That's like the whole point of my wilderness therapy program is to prevent self-harm and suicide. But they all the descriptors of what the head noise sounds like when you have OCD, it sounds the same in every person who has OCD. When you have agoraphobia, which is the inability to leave the house, it sounds the exact same in everybody who had the intrusive thoughts. When you have self-harm thoughts, the intrusive thoughts that people describe are like the same across humans. And so I started to give a little more credence, like, okay, if I'm looking at other cultures from a long time ago that like mental health is such a new field, right? Like what would it have been called in another place in another time if somebody was hearing voices or if somebody was riddled with the inability to function or somebody was hurting themselves, it would be called possession. Like that's what people would have described it as. Like there's something unclean in you and it's causing this disturbance of like you not being in that flow state of, natural state. It's causing you to be in a state of torment. That's been a really interesting thing for me as a therapist because then I'm like, well, then what am I doing? Like, then what's my job? Like, I'm not casting out demons. So, like, as a therapist, then if that's what it could be, then what's, my use? But I don't even think it's like as simple as that. I don't think it's a blanket statement of I think people's thoughts are influenced by outside entities. I do think that, especially negative thoughts. I think they're the like hertz, HERTZ, like the frequencies and sounds of this world are very static. Like they mess with your natural, like if I was in the middle of an industrial city, I wouldn't be feeling the same way as if I was in the middle of a forest. But I also think that the overall, like, this is gonna make me sound so whatever, but I don't care. Regularly scheduled programming, TV, radio, like the physical noise and words we hear, especially on social media and like all the stuff we consume, has that imprint in it of like, you're not enough, do more, be better, no one loves you, you're gonna be left, like
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. I think it's insidious. And so when people are self-harming, I'm like, yeah, that's a hard head demon to fight, like it's constant. 23 out of 24 hours of your day is like going to battle to not, hurt yourself every single day. Like that's got to be more than just your thoughts or something, that someone might have said or happened. Like to me, that's like the trauma of whatever happened is like the doorway or the gateway for something to like kind of be like a worm in your brain, Yeah.
No, I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you
That's all
finish.
I have to say about that. It's kind of a controversial take even to me, but the more I study it, the more I'm like, it's really informed how I work.
I say to me, it wasn't controversial at all. It was just normal. It was just regular. Have you heard of egregores?
Mm-mm.
They're entities that exist on a spiritual plane. They don't have a physical body. Something that I don't think about this, but I'll be getting reminded, especially when because I don't pay that much attention to the 3D world as far as the indoctrination the government tries to push and throw at us. I don't give a fuck, honestly. But knowing that it's going on, I get reminded that we still exist on a collective consciousness and a collective unconsciousness. And it's an egregore, it exists. And without going too deep into this rabbit hole, those lower entity beings that are doing those lower vibrational things, they have to use us to manifest things for them. So they get us into the frequency to a lower state of frequency to even do that. That's why I say I don't pay attention to it. You pay too much attention to it, you pulling your frequency down, you're giving them your energy, they energy harvesting, this, that, and the third. Like I say, I don't want to go too deep into the rabbit hole, but I definitely do believe when it comes down to things like self-harm, and because I had my own years ago, like I was in a mental hospital for that, all types of stuff. Knowing what I know now, is definitely some invisible things that influence that that influence that consciousness. What was I gonna say? And like also when I was waking up, you're gonna hear me talk about my uncle a lot. He played a big role in my wake up. Like that's how it
Thanks,
was divinely
uncle.
orchestrated. Yeah, he was divinely orchestrated how that was set up. That was one of my also confirmations from this reality. Like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. Like the way all that happened. Yeah, but he was the one that put me on to every thought is not your thought. You can be feeling something from your neighbor cooling down the street, and it come into your field, and then you think it's you, and it's just so many things. It's so nuanced you would have never thought. I just put it like that. You would have never thought. And yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it.
I think that, that's really beautiful. And I want to say a couple different things. The one thing is like I keep trying to teach my 9 and 7-year-old, you can control your mind or your mind can control you. Which one? You get to choose. And really, a lot of what we do in therapy is like slowing down reaction to have choice. That's a lot of Eastern psychology and mindfulness is like, oh, you're going to react. Someone's playing in your face. Your body is going to want to act in a way that might be patterned for survival, or at least I can speak that for myself. But if I can slow down that process and be like, actually, I have a choice of how I use and control my energy. And I just don't even, like, I'm not even into that energy. Like, I'm not even playing. You want to play in my face? I'm not into games. Like, I'm busy. Gotta go, And so I can now send that energy back and like not let it touch me. But that's taken, some learning. But I can slow down the process and be like, oh, okay, this person's super dysregulated. They want to like throw that on me or take something from me. And I'm just like, okay, we're going to just put this little force field up. And I love it because it's very similar what I've been learning, which was not easy for me to learn, is like when Jesus was in front of the Pharisees and they were just like being so instigating and like whatever, and he never popped off and he was just chill. I was like, oh, that's a way. That's like, you can't, it's like, an energetic way of being like there's nothing for it to stick to. Whatever is you're bringing out, that energy is coming right back to you because it's not in a loop. There's no connected. It's not going to connect to the circuit. I'm not going to let you plug in. So you can be yelling all you want. Whereas before I was like, that's so just like not on my watch, kind of thing. And then I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so I think it's the same thing with therapy is I'm like, you're not your emotions, you're not your thoughts. And once you have that sovereignty of like, because I am not my emotions and because I'm not my thoughts, I can have a choice of like, I feel like this, but I'm going to do this instead. And I'm going to do something different than what I'm thinking or different than what I'm feeling based on this truth of where I'm going and what I know. Just like you said, it just goes away. Like you then become a sovereign thing that's no longer being controlled by whatever those other things are. When I get real scared, I'll just be like, oh yeah, nothing can happen to me. I don't need to be scared. Nothing bad's gonna happen. God's got me. Like just that, like, oh yeah, that was just an intrusive thought. Like, oh, that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna do that. Or whatever. Just something as simple as looking at it and being like, I see you, head demon. You're not me. I don't choose you. Goodbye. Then it goes goodbye. It's been a very cool thing.
Yeah. What's coming to me is like I was saying, like of course I'm aware of, not really, somewhat aware of what's going on in the world, but I feel like the best way to combat it is just by not feeding it. Like just don't participate in it. Like, because it's an endless, same with conspiracies and rabbit holes. Um that's why I feel like they help me wake up so much, but at a certain point it's just endless and endless and endless, and it can easily turn into fear, and I'm pretty sure they calculated all of that too. like to the energy harvest and
I love that you said there's like a communal consciousness and a communal unconsciousness because I think that that's really, especially not to sound like whatever, but like the young people. I've always worked with middle schoolers. So let's see, I graduated in 2005 for a good 15 years between 2005 and COVID. Every class was slightly different and people were like more turned on or like tuned in or like people in your generation just know that like racism stupid, sexism stupid, classism stupid, and production over harming the environment like is very obvious. And like you said, in the non-participation of certain systems, like not everybody's out rushing to get a very expensive student loan debt to go to college like so many other paths now because the collective consciousness, even over the last 15 years, is like, I'm an important thing no matter what piece of paper happens. I can contribute. I'm not gonna like mess around with this stupid stuff and like buy into all these, like my father's and father's wars. I'm gonna be cool with everybody and we're gonna like work together. Um, to usher in this new thing, and it's happened. Whole society has shifted so much just because the young youth have a different framework. And I love, it's an Einstein quote that's like, a problem can never be solved in the same system that created it. So you need people who are unindoctrinated to come up with creative solutions because they weren't the ones breaking stuff in the first place. My generation, we just hey, I'm a break. Like we were living like there was no tomorrow. You know what I mean? We're like, whatever, I'll live on another planet. See ya. Like let's just ruin everything. So I like the fact that you all are much more like free thinkers, I guess, or like it's almost the norm to like make up your own mind about things and think critically instead of just like buying into the regularly scheduled programming.
the beings who created the B system, it's gonna be their fault while their system falls. They dug a hole for themselves. It's already
Totally.
happening.
I always tell people when people are talking crap about them, because I live in the South and gossip happens a lot. And I can't do fake and I can't do whatever that is. I'm like, don't say anything because the snake will always eat its tail. If someone's like, oh, this person's this kind of this, and this, and this, and this, you could defend yourself, but then you're just playing with a black hole. You know what I mean? Just don't say, just like, okay, I'm gonna just keep doing what I'm doing. And like, eventually that snake is gonna eat its tail. They're either gonna do it to someone else and start seeing a pattern, or they're gonna turn on their own crew. Like, because if that energy isn't getting a reaction, it's gonna spin out on itself, and it's hard when someone's like this close to just be like, I'm not touch it. At least for me, I have to learn how to be water and calm it down. But I've seen it over and over again. Like it works. Like that's your energy. You can take it back. But the one thing I want to say, and maybe like my closing remarks for this session, is collective consciousness is real. And your generation, I believe, and indigo children, I believe that there's certain beings brought in for a time such as this. That's the reason I use cicada as a metaphor, is cicadas only come up every 17 years. And the only reason they come up is to create nutrition for the next 17 years. They help people, animals get fortified, but they also decompose into the soil so that the soil is rich. And I believe that there are people who are sent for this shift, and
Definitely.
you all have the blueprint. So I want to encourage everybody who finds their way to this to really understand that, like, when we all sync up, even though you might be the only one in your whole neighborhood thinking like this or talking like this, you're syncing up to a collective conscious that once it gets to a certain point is the tipping point. Like, we can take over through our own intelligence that's not artificial, our supernatural intelligence, and we can hack the whole system, because that frequency that's happening in your mind is just a ground game. You have to be in society participating for it to get to you. But if you go up through those interdimensional portals and you're at that place where you're safe, you're blissed out, you're walking with God, He's your homie, you got it, like, then enough people get up there and hold that vibration. That vibration is literally how you bring heaven down to earth. So, like, praying and reacting and having choice, like, it really is the thing you need to do, not necessarily an external action all the time, although, of course, you help your neighbor, but, I just wanna encourage people that it is important to, uh, be okay with going up and rising above and joining a bigger consciousness. In fact, it's, like, really important that everybody activate and wake up that way.
We are living in the transformation of heaven on earth right now.
And we're each beacons and antennas.
Bro, I never knew that about cicadas, but like I said, I want to say this to the viewers: observe nature. Nature is a cheat code because you see what they're doing. They say we were made in God's image, and what man is doing now is making something else in man's image, what we call AI. I'm not saying it in a fear-based way to, scare you about AI or anything like that, but just observe nature because nature is the original function and you're not separate from it. There is an invisible intelligence that allows, like how I say, like how you said the cicadas that do that every 17 years. That's something invisible orchestrating that. Like the fact that that's even a process, and then it correlates to the soil, and then the soil getting enriched, and that correlates to something else. Something is doing that. And what I'm trying to say is you're not separate from that invisible intelligence. It's the same thing that operates, that's pumping through our veins, that's keeping your heart pumping right now without you needing to think about it, and it knows how to handle the external things too. Like I was just telling somebody, like, the Most High God accounted for all of this already. We're good. Let them do what they like. Well, let them do what they trying to do. They trying to play God. We already know how the story ends. Of course, like there's a lot of there can be a lot of things that, like I'll say, like COVID type events. I don't know if I can say that word, but that's crazy. Can't say the damn word. But still, even though, fear not.
Yeah, and that lack of adrenaline response, the lack of cortisol, when I have someone this close being like, "I'm a scary dragon," and me being like, my God's gonna kick your ass. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You mess with the wrong person. Like, I'm not afraid. Then all of a sudden, that whole power, boom, gone. And once you know that you have that, like when I face my fears and I'm like, I mean, this is like super macabre and kind of extreme, but like obviously as a mother, I fear that bad things will happen to my kids. I don't ever want to see my kids suffer. But because I'm a therapist and because I'm mindful, I like, let me look at that. Let me explore that. Let me understand that about myself. And I'm like, even if something horrible happens to all of us, we're all going to end up together in heaven. Like, it's going to be okay, you know? And then to not be afraid of it anymore because I know exactly what's going to happen. So then I'm not even afraid of it because nothing's going to happen without God's approval in the first place. So now this huge thing that I would have carried with me every day, I'm like not carrying it because I'm like, it's going to be good and it's going to be God anyway. And it's powerful. So yeah, like good closing thoughts, just allowed less doing and more being. Thank you so much for everybody who joined in. You can learn more about the Cicada Institute at the Cicada Institute with underscores, the underscore cicada underscore institute on Instagram or just cicadainstitute.com.
Sir, thank y'all for joining. And if you want to connect with me, A is Bougie on Instagram. Want to connect to the music, Bougie, all platforms. I love y'all. It's all good.
Thanks so much for joining us on episode 3 of Deep Shit. Stay tuned for episode 4 and know that you are loved and you matter. Can we have our mascot lead us out?
Smile through the
Yeah,
bullshit. Smile through the bullshit. Because you know it's
son
all good
and said,
regardless.
it's already done. We already win.
Yep.
All right. See you soon.